Okay, hey guys, I just want to talk about the Wu flu. I'm gonna use that and see if I get a little thing at the bottom. But you guys know what I'm talking about. That thing, that disease that shall remain nameless, right? As of this video, I'm just doing a little experiment. Not that I really give a shit, but I just want to see what I can and get and can't get away with without being tagged. So, anyway. I don't know if I'll be able to get away with it in this video because I have to explain too much. Okay, we'll see. I'll try. So, the Wu test, we already know is bullshit, right? I interviewed Dr. Kaufman. I interviewed David Crow, talking about how they, A, they haven't even isolated it. B, the tests give false positives, and they base it off of proteins that we all have in our body that can make us test positive, not on looking for a virus itself. And even if they did that, they can't say that it is that particular virus because they haven't actually found it, if that makes sense. So somebody sent me this that I've been meaning to cover and I forgot. So the subscriber that sent this video to me, thank you. I didn't forget your name. Maybe you don't want to be called out though. But anyway, it was Nificent covered it, and Nificent's a friend of mine, so it was cool to see his video covering this. I'll thank him for that later. But he was basically saying that he putting up that this Kentucky couple got ordered on house arrest with ankle bracelets because they tested positive. Now, this is a thing. I think getting tested for the Wu flu is just as dangerous as getting a jib jab for the U flu, if you know what I mean. These get false positives, okay? So if you test positive, you can be ordered to do stuff that you don't want to do, like be on house arrest, okay? It's not legal. It's unconstitutional. Of course, I hope they lower their ass up and sue the shit out of those people. But right now, we're in a war and our government is corrupted by evil demons from hell. So when you have a government that's corrupted with evil demons from hell, they're gonna do evil demon demonic shit such as that, okay? Same thing with China. Like, I love Chinese culture. I'm learning Mandarin. I love Chinese people. I had students that were Chinese. One of my mentors growing up was Chinese. Like, but their government is run by a bunch of evil demons from hell. But basically, the evil spirit from their country is basically trying to possess our country, if that makes sense, and all the other countries around the world. So I'm never against the people of a country. It's always the dark, deep state governments. I hope that makes sense. Anyway, that's my tangent. But they tested positive, had to get ankle bracelets. Who knows what else they can make you do? Can they make you take medication? Like if you test positive for HIV, right? Even though you're not sick, they can make you take medicine that's gonna make you sick, right? I wouldn't do that. Then there's this meme going around showing the test. Well, if you go to our Facebook page, I actually posted this video by, I think his name is Frank Tofano, and he does a really excellent job of talking about the test. And he shows the test. Actually, I'll put the video in the links. But he shows the test, and basically, it's this swab that's like this long, and it goes all the way down to your nose, right? And then there is and then, the guy, they're showing the guy that's getting it tested. He's like twitching, and it looks terribly painful. And I've heard people say that they've taken the test and the pain has been lasting for days. And you're just like, first of all, I'm like, why are you this is supposed to be a respiratory infection. Why are you taking a swab sample from the nose? The ear, nose, and throat are connected. But if you want to get closer to the chest and get a chest sample for a respiratory infection, then you would go through the throat, right? I don't know. So that's weird, right? And then there was this meme going around, which was quickly fact-checked by the fake-ass fact-checkers. But they were like, oh, no, silly, that's not true. But I'm like, okay, now that the fact-checkers are fact-checking it and they're removing it, now I have to look into it, okay? So basically, it was saying that the swab, it basically goes to the back of where there's an entrance there. I guess there are a few entrances, but one of the entrances to the blood-brain barrier, and basically is a wall of capillaries and stuff that keeps keeps toxins from going into the brain. It's a protective part of our immune system. Our immune system is really complex. That's one of the things that protects, certain microbes, certain things from getting into the brain. So I'm just like, and they're like, no, that's impossible. Like stuff can't enter into the brain through the blood-brain barrier. And I think the meme was like, hey, be careful. I just figured this out. And I think it was somebody that was actually a scientist. He knows about science. So he was just like, the swab looks like it's basically touching where the blood-brain barrier is. So I wouldn't want to take the test because there could be something on the swab, such as, nanoparticles or nanodust, which is real, like nano gel, nanodust, nanoparticles, or something we don't understand. That's what he said, something we don't understand. They could put parasites, they could put bacteria, they could put something we don't understand. If it gets in there, that's just as bad as taking a vaccine. It's just as bad, I would say. I'm not going to get tested, just like I'm not going to take the vaccine. I would consider, I'm not trying to freak people out, I'm just trying to give people food for thought, because what if they're already saying, there's already mainstream press that these tests are contaminated with COVID-19, but who knows? I mean, the people that are giving the tests, they're not in on it, they're just doing their jobs, but they're people at the top. So if there are people at the top that are contaminating the test and singing to the people that are doing their jobs and they're just giving the swab test, they're inserting this into people and making them sick. If it goes up to your brain, it's over, dude. Like parasites, nanogel, you can't remove it, just like if you get vaccinated. So I would just say, take that into consideration, okay? Now, when I looked into this, of course the fact checkers, and they already had their, their fake news nerds up on top of it, and, so when you do a search on it, that's like the first thing you see. No, that's impossible, that's stupid, that's silly, blah, blah, blah. But I did a little extra research, and I saw that the pharmaceutical industry has actually been looking into intranasal drugs via that passageway, basically through the nasal passage, because the drugs can reach the blood-brain barrier. I found a couple articles. I think I talked about it a little bit on that last video that I did with Fauci. So think about this. If it's not possible, then how come the pharmaceutical industry has already been doing research on, basically they're saying trying to get drugs into the brain, right? And that's a way that they know that they can do it, is through the nose, getting it up to the brain, through the brain barrier into the brain, for people that have neurodegenerative diseases. So if you have like Alzheimer's or I don't know, what's the other, dementia or any other stuff, MS, whatever, central nervous system diseases, they actually have developing drugs that will do just that. So these fact checkers are lying out their ass, and they're trying to hide something. So because I did that extra research and I saw that they were hiding that shit, I was like, okay, well now I gotta look into it. So now I'm like, I wouldn't even submit to a test. I'd just have to be on house arrest or be locked in. I just self-quarantine, whatever I need to do. I'm not gonna even take the test, personally, okay? Oh, and I forgot to tell you the Frank Tufano video. He has that guy that's flinching, that's getting, it looks terrible. And then he shows a video of a doctor going to a news reporter and giving him the test. And of course, they didn't show that it goes all the way down. They just like stuck it in his nose and then stuck it in his other nostril. He's like, oh, that's just a tad bit uncomfortable. What you say, oh chap? And I'm just like, yeah, dude, why is it like for Hollywood, for TV, you're making it look like it's not a big deal, but the test looks flippin' horrendous, okay? So now you test positive for this test, or you test negative, whatever, but you're in their system, okay? Also, there are lots of reports now coming out where people are testing, like they sign up to take the test and they're like, the line's too long, I'll come back tomorrow, or I'm not gonna take it, or they change their mind or whatever. And they get results in the mail that they tested positive, even though they didn't get tested. So now they're in the system and they're deemed as a super spreader or a spreader, and they can be made to do stuff that they don't want to do against their will. Does that make sense? I hope so. I mean, it doesn't make sense because it's evil and bullshit, but I mean, what I'm saying, I hope that makes sense. So and then the thing that's even creepier, talk about propaganda on steroids, but they're trying to make you sick when you're not sick. So I never even bought into the asymptomatic spreaders can spread it because I knew that I was healthy. I didn't have any symptoms. So, but they're trying to make it so, and so now this is another way that they're turning people against each other, where they see that like, oh, this person is sick and, or they don't look sick, but they are sick. And if you are in contact with them and then this person gets sick, so say I'm being healthy me, okay? And I go and, I make contact with this person. But this person was at the supermarket with a basket full of like soda and Pop-Tarts and processed food and chips and alcohol and cigarettes, and they're morbidly obese and they have ringworms and they have all these autoimmune diseases. Like they're already in poor health, okay? Yet they get sick because they're going to be more susceptible. They're stressed out, they're in fear because of this, all these things, right? That can be factors as to why they get sick, right? And like I said, it's not like the virus. Maybe they're sick with a cold or the flu or pneumonia or some other respiratory, infection, because the symptoms are the same, right? So they can get sick with this, and then that person, because they're in fear, right? They're gonna go and get tested for COVID. Oh my God, I might have the COVID. While they're smoking their cigarettes, right? And then they're like, oh my God, I'm positive. I've been wearing a mask all the time. What happened? Oh, that asymptomatic person that's super healthy that wasn't wearing a mask must have given it to you. Oh no, everybody has to wear a mask. You know what I mean? You see where this is going? And then, but now I'm like forced to get tested or forced to be on house arrest or whatever. Well, it's really about these people that don't want to take responsibility for their own health. And these are the ones it seems like that they're scared about everything, right? I've constantly talked about how I'm asthmatic, I've had allergies, endometriosis, like swollen joints, like all this, like I really worked on myself to be healthy. So I know because of that, because I've gone the extra mile, I know a lot about my immune system, how it works, what affects my body, what doesn't affect my body. And now I'm having to basically be punished for somebody that doesn't know all that, and of course, I went into this place not too long ago and, to this gas station, and this guy's running in and he's getting the alcohol and the cigarettes and he's wearing a mask and he's looking at me like he's all scared. I'm like, yeah, of course you're going to get the alcohol and the fucking, the cigarettes, of course, because but the mask is going to protect you. The mask is going to protect you from not getting sick, right? It's so ridiculous. So I wouldn't even get the test. I'm not gonna even get the test, y'all. Like it's dangerous. See, let me explain something to you too. As far as the vaccine goes, mainstream science doesn't really admit that vaccines, the chemicals in vaccines can actually breach the blood-brain barrier. Now, alternative science, meaning science that's not funded by the pharmaceutical industry or corporately funded, that has a vested interest in making sure that nobody questions vaccines, they have found that it's actually happened. So for instance, one of the ingredients, depending on the manufacturer in vaccines, is polysorbate 80. And they've used polysorbate 80 in chemotherapy treatments for people that have brain cancer because they know that it can breach the blood-brain barrier. Now, if you're injecting something with somebody into their system with polysorbate 80, even if it's a minuscule amount, it can go up there and it can take other things up there with it. And there have been experiments. This guy named Christopher Exley, if you want to look him up, maybe I can find something on him, but he's actually done a lot of, and I wouldn't even say he calls himself anti-vaccine, but a lot of anti-vaxxers and people in the health freedom movement defer to his work because he's done a lot of work on brains and heavy metals in the brain. And he's basically got a lot of, he was able to get hold of a lot of autistic people's brains and dissect them, and he found like shit tons of heavy metal that was able to go. So whatever the other carriers basically that can open the blood-brain barrier and carry other things like aluminum and stuff to the brain. So how this relates to the test is if you have something that, you know, like something we don't understand, nanoparticles, nanodust, and they're right at that entrance in the back where the blood-brain barrier is, and it's being swabbed around in there, it can actually absorb up to your brain. That's another entryway. I hope that makes sense. I will leave some links below. Like, y'all are grown-ass people. I can't tell you what to do, of course. Like no shit, I'm not a doctor, okay? I gotta make that disclaimer. So because, you know, the medical mafia that we all, you know, think are out to help us and that care so much about us will come after me if they think I'm giving medical advice. But I'm just giving common sense advice and do your own research advice, okay? I'm saying those are the conclusions I've made. To me, I think taking the test is just as dangerous as taking the vaccine. I won't be doing any of them, right? And even if I get swabbed, you know, and nothing happens, you know, who knows? Like, these people are technocratic, like, demons. They want a technocracy. I saw this really awesome, I'm gonna see if I can find that too and put in the links. It had like, I think 60,000 views within a couple of days. And this guy I mean, I believe this too, but he lays it out so perfectly, that these people that are trying to control everything, they're using communism maybe to infiltrate using this ideology to infiltrate, but they're really technocrats. They don't really have a political side. They want a technocratic society, right? That's why they're invested and they're in cahoots with all these like tech companies and stuff like that, right? Chips, you know, you hear people talking about getting chips, getting cards, getting this. They basically, they want to create a dystopian future for us through their technocratic ideas. And that's one of the ways. You guys should look up nanodust and nanoparticles and smart vaccines and all that nanotechnology that they want to inject into that. Once that gets in your system, I don't know if I can say that you'll be a human being anymore. Like, that's just how scary it is. So, like, again, I'm not trying to scare y'all, but I mean, if you guys don't know about these things or haven't thought about these things, you should look into them. All right, that's it, y'all. Have a great day. Talk to you later. Peace, truth, and love. Bye-bye.